Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you taking the time to be here today. We hope you find the information we're going to share informative. Next slide, please, Dan. There we go. I'm Paul Allen from Opus. I work alongside my colleague Pete Whitehouse in the public sector team. There will be a slide at the end of this presentation with our contact details. So please feel free to reach out to us with any questions you may have after the session. I welcome Daniel Lloyd, our channel manager from Cirrus, who will be presenting to us shortly as well. Thank you for joining us, Daniel. And also, if you have any questions, you can type into the chat box, not the bot, keep saying bot, into the chat box as we go through this presentation today, and we'll do our best to answer all those questions at the end of the session today. Next slide, please, Dan. Brief agenda from me. I'm going to talk a bit about Opus before handing over to Dan to talk about the evolution of AI, and he'll follow that format for the agenda. Next slide, please. I thought this slide was very relevant to the topic of conversation today, the driving force behind digital adoption. There's no doubt that we've experienced some fairly disruptive time over the past 3 years, and of course technologies has also been extremely disruptive. And even pre-COVID, the rules of the game were changing, as it says they're highlighting the growing need for the public sector, but also healthcare, higher education sectors and private sectors to adapt in order to meet changing citizens' expectations. Citizens no longer want to pick up the phone to talk to organisations. They want to be able to interact with you on a media, a device, and a time of their choice. And I think that's the biggest thing, the time of their choice. They expect to be able to interact with your organisation and get the information they want at any time of day. And of course, if you're going to deliver great customer experience, you need to be able to have the tools and applications to be able to address those needs from the changing needs of the citizen as well. So I thought it really sets the scene today, and Dan's going to touch on what we're seeing in the marketplace today and how that shift is moving away from voice into self-service. And of course, it's all about planning and scoping these projects to make sure you get the outcome you need. Next slide, please, Dan. Just a brief overview about Opus. Opus are a privately owned technology reseller. In fact, we celebrate 30 years in business this year, and we're really excited about that. And we see our growth is down to the fact that we offer service excellence. Everything we do is about delivering customer service. As it says there, we're an engineering-led organisation. Over 80% of our staff work in an engineering and service-driven capacity. And that's underpinned at the centre there by the service mark that we've achieved again for the second time running. That was back in December 21. And that, of course, leads itself into the personalised lifetime account and service management that we offer to our customers. We believe that the role of the reseller is far more important today than ever before because of the disruptive changes we're seeing with technology. It's important that we are engaged at all levels to make sure we take you on that journey from where you are today to the goals you're trying to achieve long term. Most customers that we engage with do not even have a basic omni-channel contact center, the email, the web, the voice, or they're using separate engines to get the reporting. So scoping where you are to where you're trying to get to is vitally important. That's the role that we play as a reseller, and underpinning that all with excellence and customer service. Next slide, please, then. Of course, we've been doing this 30 years, so it's not just about cloud for us. We've worked with legacy on-site telephone systems and contact centers for many years, and that just gives you a bit of a snapshot view of the different vendors that we work with and technology partners we work with to make sure that we can achieve the goals that our customers are looking to achieve. Next slide. Of course, Cirrus. So it's all about Cirrus today. So Cirrus are a C-class cloud provider. We've worked with them for a number of years now, and they overlay their product onto legacy telephone system platforms. And we can also not mention disruption without mentioning Microsoft Teams. Now, Cirrus overlays into Teams, so you can use Teams for your UC and Cirrus for your omni-channel contact center solution. So without me stealing Dan's thunder any further, I'll hand over to Dan and we'll come back to you at the end for some questions. Thank you, Dan.
Perfect. Thanks, Paul. Okay, so what I want to talk to you about before we jump into the main agenda, we want to talk around sort of where we've come where we've come from as contact centers. And it's clear to see that technology has really driven the way we behave and the way we interact with customers. And you can see over the timeline we've got on the screen here that, you know, the last 2 decades really have accelerated the technology that's available. You know, it's not so long ago when I worked in an office where you had to manually rewrite an invoice because you couldn't reprint one through the platform. Now we carry around a phone in our pocket that's more powerful than most of us dreamed of if we'd ever have that kind of access to technology. And because of the accelerated growth in that technology over that short period of time, it's very difficult for contact center managers and operations managers and customer experience managers to really understand how that technology can drive the service they offer to their citizens or their customers. So it's really about choosing the right partner that's going to help them understand that technology, understand their objectives, and really help shape their business. So we've come a long way since the original ACV. The other thing to look at when we're looking at self-service, because of the technology that has been restricted over the years, self-service is mainly driven via the website, frequently asked questions, forms, things like that, and IVRs, so getting information through IVRs. Now technology is available that we can switch those around, and I predict in the next 3 to 5 years, this graph will flip completely on its head, and people will be using things like live chat and social media and SMS to interact with organizations and to self-serve them to have self-service. So this graph will completely swap around, and that's based on the technology that's available. Before we jump in, it's also really important that anything to do with self-service and digital transformation or any business improvements, that you really take the time to understand how to implement them. And again, it comes down to having the right partner who's going to help you understand the technology. So there's a few pitfalls that you really need to be aware of if you start this journey of self-service. And a couple that I want to pick out today. One really important to me is the siloed data. Contact centers are really, really good at having separate databases for information, having information for customers sitting in a CRM and on a spreadsheet, in a database, but also having multiple systems. And that siloed data makes it very difficult for the agent to provide customer service. Another big one as well is business processes not being ready. So for the last 50 years, we've been offering a service across local councils, for example, and we understand that when somebody calls in, we then do X, Y, and Z. Now, if that person doesn't call in, they text in, or they come via a web chat, or they've gone through self-service first, is that aftermath, the back office function, the data admin, is that business process ready? So working with a partner like Cirrus and Opus, we're going to help you understand these pitfalls and make sure that when you're implementing self-service, it's going to be a success. Right, so let's get self-service right from the start. There's 3 main areas that I want to talk to you about today. Firstly, when it comes to self-service, what's the role of the agent? How does secondly, integration, and then thirdly, it's more than just web chat. And obviously I'll go into details as we go through. So let's start with the agent. The agent really has the most difficult task inside an organization. There's a lot that they have to put up with, a lot that they have to do on a day-to-day basis. And you probably understand that 80% of contacts that come into a contact center relate to the same top 20 questions. So their day job becomes very, very repetitive and mundane. We also did a survey last year around a wide variety of contact centers, and we found that 57% of agents that responded believe that AI and self-service helps them resolve queries faster. So here we have some mundane tasks that agents don't want to do, and we have agents that are asking for self-service and AI to assist them in their journey. So these are some of the common things you see with agents. It's very difficult to keep agents motivated when they're doing the same repetitive tasks. You end up with a high agent churn, which becomes expensive, which can relate to higher operational costs, poor customer service, and generally inefficient contact centers. By enabling self-service, you start to rethink what the agent role is. So you start to take away those routine tasks, move them into a self-service part of the business. You allow self-service or AI to become the first contact. So whether that be through an SMS journey, a web chat journey, a phone call, let's start to gather information about that customer, why they're calling, and then bring agents in when they need it. And that's when you need to apply logic, or when you need to show empathy, or you need to make decisions that affect value. And what that does, it makes the agent the agent's role more fulfilling, because they're going to look at the high value or the complex interactions, and ultimately be able to have more time spending dealing with those complex queries. So it engages the agent a lot more. So when you're thinking about self-service, start thinking about how that's going to change your agent role and the benefits that's going to bring. Now, this is the controversial slide, so let's see how this goes. When I was considering how integration was to improve a self-service journey, I came up with a little analogy that's a bit 1970s, but let's see. So having a web chat, an IVR, a WhatsApp solution without an integration is like going to your mother-in-law's for a Sunday dinner. You know it's not going to be the best experience, but your wife says you have to do it, so you get on with it and you do it. But what I really mean by that is that if you just do something for the sake of it, because the customer experience manager says we need to introduce WhatsApp, so let's just do it, or the CEO is driving the change, and you don't really take time to think how are we going to do that, and by bringing in other platforms and integrating with them is going to change the journey, then it's really not going to work that well. So it costs a lot of money, time, and effort to implement things like frequently asked questions, form fills, and different self-services. So it's important to get it right. And by integrating with those platforms, you start to reap a lot of benefits. You reduce the cost to serve because there's information readily available to that self-service engine. You improve first contact resolution, which is a key performance indicator for many contact centers. You get better business information and visibility, so you start to understand why your citizens or why your tenants or why your students are contacting you, and what the outcomes are, and things you may need to change in your organization to help service them. And you can start to personalize a customer journey. If you know that a tenant in a housing association is making a contact, and you know they're in arrears, then you can offer support for them, because there's more likely that that's going to be the reason why they're contacting you today. And ultimately, you can increase the efficiency. Finally, self-service is more than just web chat. If you go back to the mobile phone analogy here, everybody carries an omni-channel platform inside their pocket. They're able to text their mom, they're able to WhatsApp their friends, they're able to engage with websites all through the same device. So as people start to live their lives that way, it's important that organizations give their customers and their citizens the ability to do that as well. And by doing that, you're allowing the customer to engage in the way that they want to do, and as Paul said, at the time they want to do. And with self-service and AI that's powering all of those things, you don't need agents to be manning the phones or the WhatsApp platform at 10 o'clock at night. AI can step in and cover that off.
I think it's interesting what you say, Dan, about making sure it's the mundane tasks that perhaps will then leave the agents free and available to deal with perhaps the more vulnerable citizens within the community, for example. So making sure you shift the channels accordingly.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So also the ability of having one single platform that has allows you to carry out self-service and AI through IVR, WhatsApp, SMS, Facebook Messenger, email, for example, means that when you've developed that, you're only developing one platform, but it's offering that service across so many different channels, and then that allows your tenants to your customers to interact in that way, which is going to reduce the expensive costs like phone calls inside the contact center. And it's also important that regardless of the media that the customer starts to engage with you on, there's a seamless handover to the agent. So one thing we've created here at Cirrus is one single interface that allows all those different medias to be serviced in one screen, and that makes it more efficient for the agent. When we talked about the pressures on the agent to begin with, by not having multiple screens all those medias come into, again, you're helping them. And finally, because you've got one engine, the brand voice, the way you interact with people is always the same across all of them. You don't have to maintain lots and lots of different channels. Okay, so what I want to show you now is just some real life examples of where Opus and Cirrus have applied this across different organizations. We've anonymized some of the details here, but I think the use cases really speak for themselves. So In a local government, there's seasonal periods which increases contact. So we all know around council tax times, that's a very common thing. We introduced Kai. So Kai is our conversational AI tool that sits across all the medias we talked about. Within the first 3 months, Kai was handling 80% of conversations that came onto a website or was interacted via SMS, which decreased the contact into the call center by 35%. So that's a really strong metric when you're starting to look at the ROI of developing self-service and AI. What's the tangible benefits? And having a third of call traffic go into the call center, which releases pressure on the call center, allows you to spend more time talking to vulnerable people, and make sure that the right service is being done and first contacts increased. It just allows all those good things that we want to talk about to happen. In a very similar journey, we have a housing association. It's got 3 different brands for different legs of their organisation, all that really interact with their tenants in different ways. Because the Cirrus platform is flexible enough to have 3 tones of voice in one, with one central database, it was really easy to deploy for this particular housing association. And they deployed voice, email, web chat, conversational AI over SMS as well. They naturally now have 62% of all their traffic is now digital only. So because of the great experience that tenants had using those digital channels, they've remained in that space, which means it's a lot more efficient for the housing association to deal with those tenants. And so again, it's a very strong use case that we can share and you guys can be a part of. Finally, in the healthcare sector, this particular one's more to do with the integration with third-party platforms. There's 2 things we really push forward with these guys. Firstly is a SMS broadcast around appointment reminders, because it's one of the most expensive things we have. But everybody who runs a call center will know that when somebody clever sends out 10,000 text messages to somebody, that's going to cause 5,000 phone calls into the contact center. Which obviously it makes it very difficult to manage that increase in demand. What the Cirrus platform allows you to do is send out those 10,000 messages, but encourage people to text back in rather than call back in. And an agent was handling a phone call as a one-to-one scenario, 1 phone call, 1 agent. In an SMS world, you can have 1 agent to 10 SMS conversations. So you can handle 10 times more of that traffic that comes back in, just by allowing that to be 2-way. Now, if you can add on AI on top of that as well, which is dealing with 80% of those conversations, you can start to see how you put these pieces of the puzzle together and how you can improve the service without increasing demand into the contact center. Just the things you can think about when you start on your self-service journey. And then finally here, just by integrating into a CRM or a database of information, you can do ID&V inside the IVR, inside your web chat, inside your SMS, which cuts down the conversation time by 60 seconds. So you can imagine, average call in a contact center is 6 minutes. If you could take a whole minute off that, there's huge savings we had when you scale that up across 10,000 calls you receive that week. So some solid use cases. Obviously, if you want to talk more, Paul have his details at the end, and we can talk to you more about how we've helped organisations improve their customer experience. Now, just want to show you some of the services we offer here at Cirrus. So, as Paul mentioned, we're a full omni-channel cloud organisation. The main channels that we offer here are on the screen. Everything from voice right through to Google reviews. The ones highlighted in red are the ones that we're able to offer our conversational AI self-service engine to. So you can see you can get a seamless journey in the same way for email, SMS, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, and web chat. So it gives you that flexibility to deploy these models. Now we create a single view of the customer across all these. So regardless of the media the customer uses, it'll all come through into one single pane of glass where the agent has access to all these medias and has a full history of the customer communications. And because of our unique modular channel management, you're able to add these channels as and when you require. So we talked around business processes being one of the pitfalls. Because of our unique way of building our modular platform, you can start to introduce modules 1 at a time, 2 at a time. So you work out what's right for you as an organization. It may be that SMS isn't right for housing association, because it's very expensive for the customer if they haven't got credit on the mobile to have those conversations. But Facebook Messenger is free to all parties, so that might be the one you want to choose. And that modular management gives you that flexibility. Okay, finally, just want to recap then. So, when you're talking about self-services more than just a chatbot, there's lots of things to consider. Firstly, how their agent is going to be a part of that journey. Secondly, how integration is going to make that that self-service engine, that AI conversation, a lot cleaner, a lot more personalized to the customer, a lot more effective. And then finally, considering that you don't want to force everybody down to a website to have a conversation with a web chat engine. You've got Omni in your pocket, you can have the same experience and the same brand, the same tone of voice across all those different media that I showed you, and that's going to make your the increase in digital transformation a lot quicker. And ultimately, you can see on the screen that there's some key benefits you're going to get. So reducing your cost to serve, increasing your first time resolution, creating better experiences. It's going to mean a lot for your organization. Okay, so I hope you found that interesting. I'll hand you back to Paul.
Thank you, Dan, for your insight. I appreciate that. I think just a quick slide from me, really. It's great to have technology, but you can't do it with technology alone. It's about having good people in good positions on both sides of the table, from our point of view, from our project managers and pre-sales, and of course from the customer's point of view, is understanding what it is you're trying to achieve. And it's bringing all those things together to make sure you're going to get the outcome that you're trying to achieve. So it's important to be engaged at all levels on that. Next slide, Dan. Questions. So do we have some questions that need to be asked, Craig?
A few questions coming in. One is, can these solutions be deployed on any existing telephone system?
Yeah, so as Paul mentioned, we're an overlay platform. So one of the unique things about Cirrus is that rip and replace of taking out your contact center, or taking out your on-premise UC platform, whatever you've currently deployed. We take that away. We sit over the top of that, so we can deliver calls to any device, whether that be Teams, whether it be mobile, whether it be an on-premise platform, and then for the digital channels that we talked about today, they're all delivered via a web browser. Or if you have a Teams integration via our Microsoft accredited Teams integrated app.
We can actually give demonstrations on Teams integration, for example, if that's required as well. So if that's what you want to see, let us know. We'll be happy to do that as well.
Okay. There's another one. How simple is it to deploy voice only to start with and then expand to support additional medias such as email and web chat at a later date?
Yeah, I think that's very similar to the question that before. It's very straightforward for us to deploy our voice element first, because we don't have to rip and replace. We don't have any hardware we have to deploy. It's all done through the cloud. For a 50, 60 seat organization, you're probably talking 10 to 12 weeks from start of the project to going live. That's typical. We have done it in 48 hours. It's not something I would recommend everybody do, because it's only when needs must you have to work that fast. But I think, yeah, for a typical public sector organization of 50 to 60 people, you're looking around 10 weeks. And then to add modules on, once you've got the platform provisioned, tested, working, to add modules on is really just a matter of tick boxes. So it's really easy to add those modules on afterwards. And sorry, just keep talking there. One of the great things about Cirrus, and where we get a lot of our good feedback through our partners and to our customers, particularly with Opus, is that we have a full customer success team that are there, that works with the account managers at Opus to make sure that the software that you've now got in your hands is working for you. So when you're ready to go, okay, I want to add SMS now to my voice only platform, they talk to you about how that process works, the benefits you're going to get, things you need to consider. So not only is it easy to deploy, you've also got a team of people who are going to help you do that.
I think key to that is understanding the current workflows, and then keep reviewing what you're doing, what's changing, and then suggest new workflows that's going to continue on that journey. That's the key thing, isn't it?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Okay, there's another about integration. So reference the Teams integration that was mentioned. Does Cirrus support open APIs? And if so, can we as an end user have access to these?
Yeah, so it's one of it's one of our strong points is our API. So a little potted history, very very short. Cirrus actually born inside a contact center, an outsourced business which had 9,000 different customers. Each of those had different CRMs. So the system was built to be able to integrate with multiple different platforms. So we don't have a list of CRMs or third-party applications you can integrate with. We have a book of open APIs that we use to bespoke those integrations. So as providing the CRM can accept a web request, we're confident we can integrate with it. And that integration is routing calls, routing emails, creating tasks, providing information to the agent. And it's really a case of just sitting down, talking to us, understanding what your objectives are, and we'll help you map them out and integrate.
Yeah, it sounds like another conversation we had perhaps after.
Yeah. Keep a record and we'll chat.
This one about is the Welsh language supported, and if not, can it be added with help from the Welsh government and Welsh universities, for example?
So it's a very good question. We do have, I think, 20 languages that the digital platform can be set up with. I'd have to just go back and check if Welsh is on there. So keep that one written down there, Craig.
We'll come back to you on that one.
Yeah,
that's for the agent. For the AI tool, yes, that would be possible.
Okay.
So what I'm saying there is to put it onto a Welsh website and have English as an option, Welsh as an option, and having those two-way conversations or through SMS, WhatsApp, etc. Yes, 100% Welsh is sorted. For a Welsh agent who wants to see their screen in Welsh rather than English, I just need to check that because, like I said, we have got 90 different languages of platforms available in. So need to check Welsh on there.
All right, we can follow that one up as well. I think kind of covered it, I think, on the previous question, but it's how long does it take to set up AI across multiple channels? And I think you sort of covered that.
So AI really, to set it across multiple channels, it is quick to set it up over one as it's set up over all 5. So that isn't the multiple channels isn't a big concern. I think when you're talking around AI and self-service, it's very much like bringing a new agent on board. So on the first day that agent joins your organization, they're not going to be able to answer all the complex queries. So it's about having that mindset that we've got to train this agent. So we talked around those top 20 questions to have 50% of those being answered by AI through a digital channel. We could probably set it up again in probably that 10-week period. And then what you have to do then is spend time understanding what the next set of questions are, how we want them to be answered, and how we train the agent up. So you've got to devote some time to the AI to develop it going forward as well.
I think the key with that is planning the scoping of what you're trying to achieve, and proof of value and proof of concept almost. It'll evolve as you start on that process with it. Yeah. But it's very important to make sure that we understand what it is you're trying to achieve and plan it correctly. Yeah. And that's all we do it with our pre-sales team. So we'll have a high-level design document that really gets into detail with a low-level design to follow as well.
Okay, I think that's the questions covered. I think you got some contact details if people think of anything afterwards.
Yeah. Next slide, please, Dan.
There you go.
Great. So
there's a handsome man there.
That's Pete.
Heavily photoshopped, yeah.
There you go. So that's myself, Paul, and Peter. So you can reach out to either of us and with any questions you may have. We'll both be at the Digital Government event at the QE2 on the 18th of May. So if you're there, please feel free to come and say hello to us. We'll be happy to have a chat with you and answer any questions you have. So thanks everybody for joining us today. I hope you found it useful, and any questions, reach out to us.
Thanks everybody.
Thanks everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks.